The Dialogue with Clement Manyathela.
It's not just another roundtable discussion.
Let's walk the talk on 702.
23 minutes before 11 o'clock. We're in the middle of our dialogue where we're discussing this study by the Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflection, which suggests that the ANC is likely to only retain majority in 2 provinces after the 2029 general elections. And I've said before that we've had conversations for a long time about the decline of the ANC and the potential, or some people describe it as the imminent end of its dominance. And what is increasingly becoming clear is that just as a liberation movement, it looks like the prophecy is coming true. Look at how they performed in the elections last year. And now you've got the study that indicates that their fortunes are not getting any better even after the 2029 elections. And I've been asking you whether you think this is the time when that prophecy around liberation movements comes true for the ANC. How much of this decline is due to just the dissatisfaction with governance, or is it more about just societal sentiments, the generational change, the end of liberation politics? And do you think that the GNU will accelerate or slow the pace of that decline? Let's start with your thoughts on 0727021702, and then I'm going to bring in Professor Derek Coetzee and Mbazima Shilowa.
Good morning, Clement. It's Mornay here from Randburg. In terms of the ANC's ability to turn things around, I think it is too late for them. Too many of their initial supporters from 94 have already, I think, passed on, and the young crowd just don't believe them when they make promises and say that they will root out corruption and so forth. I think the younger group is also much more informed to make decisions, and they don't have that loyalty that their mothers and fathers and grandparents would have had whilst they were supporting the ANC right after the beginning of the new regime.
Morning, Clement. Interesting discussion right there. There is someone who said we need to start imagining freedom in South Africa without the ANC. I think it's Advocate Skatane, I'm not sure, but someone said those words, and I think that's where we are at now. And I think the ANC has to blame itself for the decline that we're seeing, because just look at the leaders there in the NEC. A lot of those leaders have been involved in one scandal or the other, have been involved in allegations of corruption here and there. So the ANC has to blame itself for what is happening. I think people have just lost faith in ANC. They are just failing to govern. So it's going to continue losing votes. It's bound to happen. Thank you, Clement.
Hi, Clement. I feel that if the ANC wants to turn things around, they would definitely have to listen to what the people on the ground are saying, listen to the issues that people have, and not only just listen, but basically solve the issues that each community faces: GBV, unemployment, high levels of crime. Lorato from Johannesburg.
So just listen and listen and listen. That's what Lorato says. Let's bring in now Mbazima Shilowa, who is a political commentator, and Professor Derek Coetzee, Professor of Political Science at UNISA. I'll start with you, Mr. Shilowa. Good morning. Thank you for joining this conversation. Do you think this is it for the ANC? Because I said earlier that we've been talking about this. I mean, how opinion pieces have been written from 12 years ago already, talking about the implosion of the ANC. And when they were written at the time, there was urgency to it. Not a lot of people were saying, well, this is going to happen in 15 years' time. And the question now is, have we arrived at that moment? How do you assess what's going on now, especially in the context of the study by the Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflection?
Yeah, I don't know if we have reached that point, especially since this is a study on trends rather than a research on voter intentions. because I think if it was voter intentions, they would be able to show how they arrive at that notion that says in Mpumalanga or the Free State or Northwest for that matter, people will suddenly, in a majority or at least, less than 50%, abandon the ANC. My view is that no, obviously the ANC can still claw back from where they are at 40% to more than 50%, or they can go down even at the national level. It will depend on what they do, what kind of campaign they launch, not what manifesto they put forward, but how they show that the things they have said before, they've been able to. I also distinguish, on this point of the imminent collapse of the ANC, there are people who from 1994, even before the ANC had been in power for a year, had wished that it collapses. They've always wished that some, what they call liberals in the ANC, may team up with others in the DA or others. So the short answer is, I don't know. I am not sure, because it is not based on research, but more extrapolation. And a lot will depend on what campaign the ANC is going to. They are not even looking at what may happen in local government next year. They're looking more at what may, may happen 3-4 years down the line based on extrapolation. So I would worry about it if I'm the ANC, but not too much.
Yeah. Professor Kotsie, what are your thoughts? And Bazima Shilowa speaks about the ANC can still claw back, but that is going to be dependent on other things. What do you think it's going to take? And do you think the ANC can intervene and slow or reverse this decline that is often spoken about, the decline in its dominance?
Well, good morning, Clement. I think if one looks at the period since 1994 and the trends, especially the elections, then it gives us a very specific message. The ANC started with 62% in 1994, then 1999 it's 66%, and then it reached its highest point ever in 2004 with 69.69, almost 70%. From 2009 onwards, the ANC started with a decline, and it's a very consistent decline. It started to increase the decline towards the end of President Zuma's term as president. Then there was, when President Ramaphosa became the president, and in the 2019 election, he arrested it a little bit. But thereafter, it continued in the same trend. So irrespective of who is the president, the direction is in the same way. That's now at national and provincial level. At local level, the process has been even quicker. And I think we all know about what happened in 2016 with the local government election, where the ANC lost their outright majorities in Tshwane, Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni, as well as Nelson Mandela Bay. And that trend has also continued. So in a sense, the local government developments is actually a step or two ahead of the developments at local, at national and provincial level.
Yeah.
But the trend is very consistent. So in my view, irrespective of who's the president of the ANC, there is not any way in which this can be turned around. And I think what we've seen with the public opinions, statistics now lately since last year's election, is that it still continues. Ironically, the parties who are part of the government of national unity, specifically the ANC, the Patriotic Alliance and the IFP, have since last year's election actually started to increase their support. But the exception is the ANC. The successes of the government of national unity does not spill over to that of the ANC. And I think that's the biggest headache for the ANC is that they can't share in some of the steps being taken by the government that is actually quite popular. Look, for example, at the budget, where the issue of VAT became a dividing factor within the government of national unity. Those parties who were against the VAT increased actually their support even more. While for at the temporary point, the ANC, the Patriotic Alliance and the IFP who supported the VAT, they lost some support during that time. So these are again clear indications of what plays a role now in the way in which the public look at these political parties. Maybe just a last point for this in answering your initial question is, I think it has to do with when one look, for example, at Limpopo and KwaZulu-Natal, because that's interesting examples. That's where presidents of the past or the current president's sort of main support base come from, is that once the president, like President Zuma, is not anymore the president of the country, then that province goes into a decline. And we've seen it now with last year's election in a very dramatic way. President Ramaphosa, although he's also very closely aligned with Gauteng, but because of his presidency in the ANC, it has just shot up the support within Limpopo to the highest ever of all the provinces. But it will be interesting to see when the day when he's not anymore ANC president, what will be the situation in Limpopo. The same, in a sense, applied to the Free State. While Ace Magashule was there, the ANC was very strong. With the demise of Magashule in the Free State, it also led to a demise of the ANC in the Free State in general. So it's attached very much to also personalities in those different provinces.
Yeah. Mr. Shilowa, there's, some people believe or think that the ANC needs to start preparing itself and the role that it will play as a coalition partner rather than a sole governing majority, that it's naive to think that we can go back to that full, 60% dominance of the ANC like we've seen in the past. When you say that the ANC can still claw back, do you still think it can somehow get back to the levels of dominance we've seen the party enjoy? And how much of the impact do you think the GNU is to either the slowing or the acceleration of that decline?
All I am saying is that I don't work on the basis that says it's inevitable that the ANC is going to decline. But if you listen to Professor Kotse, what he basically says is it doesn't matter what the ANC do, whether it governs better or fulfills its promises, it is going to lose an election because no president of the ANC or other people can serve it. And I'm not sure that is sustainable. That says, a party in decline. We all say if the ANC want to succeed, it must stop corruption. It must change. It must deliver. We must see job creation and all of those things. So if we say, even if they do those things, nothing is going to change, I'm not sure it's the right thing. But having said that, yes, I mean, I've said myself that, look, if you look at what has happened, because of what the ANC is not doing, the economy is not growing, we are not creating jobs, poverty continues and all of that, it is inevitable that it is going to lose elections. But it's not because people think liberation should go or not go. People ditch them because of corruption and what they don't do. You can go and look at the Indian National Congress. I mean, they were as dominant as the ANC. But they were not ditched because, what liberation movements must change. They became corrupt, they didn't deliver, and all of those things. The GNU, I don't think it will halt the decline because, you can get gains where people say, yes, no, you put in place BILA and all of this other legislation. But I think if you can sort out the jobs crisis, growth in the economy, poverty, that is where the downfall is not going to be, not because it's inevitable.
Yeah. Let's take some calls now on 011-883-0702. Jabu, you're calling from Pretoria. What are your thoughts?
Clement, Mr. Shilowa is being too kind to the ANC. He knows very well that the ANC that he belonged to when he was premier in Gauteng has not regained that strength and perception, and that is why they've been on the decline ever since. And in fact, he left them because they could not self-correct. The ANC is definitely...
Jabu? Yeah, go ahead.
Is actually going to be...
Jabu, we're losing you, man. We've just lost Jabu there. Something wrong there with that line. Banele, you are in 4 ways. Hi.
Good morning, Clement, and good morning to all your panelists there.
Sure.
I wanted to raise something with regards to this particular decline that you speak of. If we look at the ANC, my view is that the ANC's decline is based more on personalities. Now, and I'll tell you why. If you look at the splinter parties that have come through from the ANC, with the EFF now sitting at 9%, you've got MK recently, last year's election, sitting at about 15.5%. Then the ANC sitting at 40%. The voters haven't really abandoned the ANC in those iterations. And I'm saying to you that depending on what happens at the 2027 leadership conference of the ANC, we might see those particular groupings actually group together. Because you might find that they might find each other, especially if they think that ultimately they'll lose the ultimate power to an opposition party, like, for instance, the DA. So I'm saying let's not discount the fact that it could possibly happen and the ANC could possibly retain power in 2029 under a different iteration, depending on who the leader is in 2027, to be able to make that happen. I think let's not discount that, because if you round up those percentages, they're sitting at round about the same percentages they were sitting in 2009. Maybe not in 2004 at 69%, but they're certainly sitting at about 65 and 66%. If you take the MK into consideration and you take the EFF into consideration and the current ANC right now.
Okay. Banele, in 4 ways, thank you. In fact, let me get Professor Kotsia to weigh in on that. Prof, how much of a factor do you think the upcoming conference will be on whether or not there is this decline comes sooner, or if at all?
Yes, I think the ANC's conference is going to play an important role, but as in terms of the way in which I've tried to explain it in the beginning, I don't think it's going to turn it around. I think this point that has been made just now is a very important one, and that is the ANC started to fragment, starting with COPE in 2008, 2009, thereafter the EFF, now MK, but in between also other parties like the African Independent Congress, like the ATM, and you can name quite a number of them. It actually happened even in COSATU when SAFTU was formed and they split in two. You know, if we look at the Communist Party also, the Communist Party is also, well, not really a very strong player. It wants to go on its own now in next year's election. So what it means is indeed that group that was consolidated, or the masses of voters of 1994 and 1999 and 2004 started to move in different directions. So it's not necessarily that they move over to other parties like either the IFP or the DA or ACDP and others. But that is the realignment of the politics. You know, what we have seen, however, is that at local government level, there's some different dynamics. There's a proliferation of local parties, parties that concentrate on local issues, and not only in metropolitan areas, but especially in the rural areas, the Karoo and other places. And that also contributed to the demise of the ANC's dominance. And I think what we are seeing is a number of factors for that. Is the idea that the ANC's leadership has become divorced from the general population, and that they are working not anymore in service of the population. They are not anymore public representatives in the real sense, but they have become political careerists, persons who are there very much for their own, as well as the emergence even more of corruption. Now that pushes people away from that, any party. Secondly, is that if a party is for too long in power, it creates the same dynamics. And that's, for example, the danger of the DA in the Western Cape. Over time, they might experience the same problems as the ANC at the moment. So I think this is one of the issues. Democracy works on the basis of rotation of government. That's inevitable. If that doesn't happen, the system doesn't maintain its healthy characters. And I think these are symptomatic of some of the problems of the ANC, and that is the Indian Congress Party is a good example of it. All the liberation movements in Southern Africa are experiencing to some extent what the ANC is going through. SWAPO already lost Windhoek at some point in time. They are back. The ZANU-PF have lost the main centers in in Zimbabwe. Frelimu, we know about the problems at the last election, as well as the local election. So what we see in South Africa at municipal or local level is, in a sense, being repeated. Also in our neighboring countries, and the only party that's not following that process is the CCM in Tanzania, and countries or systems where this trend is happening. Very often, in order to protect those parties, they become more autocratic. They start to act against opposition parties. Luckily for us, that is not happening, and that is possibly one of the reasons why the ANC cannot turn around or protect itself.
Yeah. Well, Mazima Shilowa and Professor Derkotsia, thank you so much to both of you for making time for us. It's a minute now before 11.
Hanging out with Clement
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
23 minutes before 12 o'clock, we're hanging out with Dr. Malusi Gigaba this morning on our Hanging Out feature. You're welcome to give us a call on 011-883-0702, WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. You can post your comments as well on the YouTube page. But before we continue our chat, let's go to one of your favorite songs, Dr. Gigaba, Nhloso Kwela, Unikodima. I've never heard of this artist before.
You can't be from KZN and not love Maskandi.
So it is a Maskandi.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah? So tell me why this particular song is special to you.
Because it talks about, somebody who is praying not only for their own success, but also for collective success of the other people that they live with, that they struggle with, that they hustle with, that they walk with along this journey of life.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's check it out.
Isiso sami ukuthi siphumelele sonke. Siphumelele sonke nabangani bami. Oh, thank you for the song, Mr. Malusi Gigaba. I love it. Hi, Clement and the listeners.
Kuphuka lapho Melusi, kuphuka lapho. Awusheli ibongo zangakini wemfethu. Uma usukhuphuka kanje, uvela ubone ngempela ukuthi sokonakele manje, sokonakele kwa702. Kuphuka lapho mfoka Gigaba. Awusheli ibongo zangakini mfethu. Sikuzwe kahle. What's up?
So this guy is famous, eh? This artist.
No, he is famous. And you know, as I say, on Saturday during the day, I listen to Umaskandi on Ukhozi because it's home music. It takes me home. It reminds me of the hills and valleys, of the rivers of my home.
That's fascinating. Itagazelo?
Well, no, he's not asking for Itagazelo. He's asking for Ibongo Zamzu.
What's the difference?
Itagazelo are the clan names.
Yeah.
Ibongo Zobunzizwa, it's the your praise names from among your peers. In the context of your village, your community.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have those as well? Everybody has that?
Mawinzizwa, you are expected to. But they derive.
Yeah.
You know, some of these things, I don't know them in English. But they derive from the things you do with your
in
friends.
The community, with
in
your
the
friends.
community, Engomeni.
Okay.
And so on.
I got you. Okay, cool. I want to go to some other questions here.
I have them. They must ask Ngizwe Mkhulu.
Ungizwe Mkhulu. Okay. Someone was asking here, what is it that you do for fun?
I watch Orlando Pirates.
Okay.
Yes.
Really?
Nothing could be more fun than that.
And then on days that they're not playing?
On days that they're
not playing. Are you an Orlando Pirates fan?
Yes, I am an Orlando Pirates fan. But I actually enjoy spending time with my kids, playing with them, with my partner, talking about different things, watching movies and stuff, listening to radio and discussing different things. I'm not. I don't think I am the not funniest but funnest person. So I don't go clubbing. Well, I think I'm old now. I used to go clubbing when I was in my 20s, but not now. So yeah, but it's soccer, it's going out, it's sitting with the kids.
Sitting with the kids. And speaking of the kids, how are you managing the co-parenting? Because you've got children. I mean, how old are the kids now?
One is 14, one is 12.
They're old enough to see and read the news and hear and watch television. How have you protected them from what is in the news, either about you or about you and their mother? How has that co-parenting been?
It's a difficult thing, but because they live with me, I do my best to shield them from all of that. And I've had discussions with their schools about helping me out when they are at school, so that they don't get exposed to this. And we continue, so that we try to continue protecting their dignity and their well-being. And obviously they will need to undergo counseling so that they also get to learn how to cope with this environment. But it's unfortunately a difficult environment where the most important thing is to protect their well-being and their dignity.
Yeah. Would you say that they've been impacted about everything else that's happened? Do they talk about it? Do they have people at school who, I don't know, mention it, someone who makes fun of something?
No. I have asked them.
Yeah.
I have asked them, and they said that no, they have not, that their friends or schoolmates have not mentioned this to them. But I have had discussions with the teaching authorities at the schools.
Yeah, and then earlier on you also spoke about experience being a teacher, and one of the questions that came was around how everything that's happened has shaped you as a leader. There've obviously been a number of publicized incidents, some of them personal, some of them professionals. How do you think that has shaped you as a leader? What has that experience taught you in hindsight when you reflect back?
It's taught me tremendously about the journey of life, because all of it, be it professional or private, it comes down to how do you carry yourself in public, how do you exercise your responsibilities as a public persona, as a private persona, as a parent and as a partner. So I've learned tremendously, and I have often said, even to young people in parliament, and some of whom are in the government, that don't be afraid to call on us and say, I would like to talk. I'm going through the following experience. Yeah. Could you advise me based on your own experience? I wouldn't take that as an attack. I think that is a respectful way of engaging and helping to draw on the person's experience in order for you not to repeat the same, either the same mistakes or go through the same experiences. It's unlike someone who pretends that they know what they are talking about without ever heard your side of the story, and then they go blurting it out as if they have inside information, or they are informed about the matter.
Yeah. What do you think has been the biggest lesson for you? And is there anything that hindsight, when you reflect, is there anything that you think you definitely, that is a regret, or definitely that is a lesson that I've taken from those experiences?
I think the biggest lesson is everybody needs to have people they can talk to who have walked the path that they are walking, and seek counsel from them. Because sometimes you meet an experience and you think you're the first person to go through that experience, and yet you are not. And those of us who have gone through those experiences should be able, in an appropriate setting, to share experiences, to give advice in a sober way. Particularly, and it doesn't matter whether you are in the public service or you are in the private sector, because on both ends, the experiences you go through affect you. They can curtail your career, they can propel it, and they can mess up your relationships, not only with partners but with various other stakeholders, or they can build those relationships. So I think, for me, that's the thing that we all have to do, to mentor one another without expecting any incentive, or because when somebody comes to talk to you in confidence, you need to give them the assurance that I'm not going to go talking about your issues to anybody else. What you have said to me, you've said to me, and it will stay here.
All right, it's 8 minutes before 12. I'm going to come back and wrap up with some of your questions when we come back.
Hanging out with Clement
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
All right, 6 minutes before 12 o'clock. I want to wrap up with some of the questions that are coming through. One person says, hi, Clement. Malusi has been in senior positions of the ANC Youth League and the ANC. Among several ANC presidents that he's worked with, can he please expand what he has learned from each of them? In particular, also what he makes of President Cyril Ramaphosa's consultative leadership. So, if you can, Dr. Gigaba, just give an experience of each of the presidents that you've worked with. And then there is another question from Tsepo as well, says, hi, Clement. When he talks about things that curtail your reputation, please can you ask him if he regrets ever meeting the Gupta family, because that is part of the reputational damage that came on him. Those are the two questions.
Thank you. From President Mandela, I learned warm, kind-hearted.
Did you work with him as well?
When I first became ANC Youth League president, he was president of the ANC. Yeah. So he was warm, kind-hearted, but very firm. I think one thing you learn from Madiba is that he could once he took a principled position, he was not afraid to stand up for it.
Okay.
He could reprimand an entire rally and we would all shrink in our seats while he's shouting at us. President Mbeki is visionary. He is a thought leader. He is very firm, not populist, and he will take an unpopular decision and route, regardless of how you think about it. But he is evidence-based. So if you want to engage with him, you've got to know your facts. There were many times as president of the Youth League where he would sit with me and quiz me about ANC Youth League positions and why we took that position in particular. And you needed to be evidence-based.
Okay.
President Zuma is warm and kind-hearted. He suffers no fools, but he also has the biggest heart. He accommodates way too many people, I think, to a fault sometimes, because then people would take advantage of the fact that he would give them an ear and provide him wrong information. But he suffered no fools, even when you have done that, and gave you enough rope to be able to do your work.
Okay.
President Ramaphosa, as I worked with him briefly as deputy president of the country and even more briefly as president of the country, well read also. He reads his memos. I think there isn't anything I'm saying about them that Ma Naledi Pandor hasn't also said, because they are just those types of people. But President Zuma and President Mandela were more people leaders, very popular, and they enjoyed that popularity and made sure that people got to experience them.
All right. And then the question about the reputational damage and regrets.
Look, you when you meet someone, I know Clement today. I don't know what Clement will be like in 10 years' time. It's difficult for me to say that I only regret having met you after I have experienced something wrong you did, not before I do. And I think this is a very important thing for all of us, because President Mandela met them. They came during his presidency. They were part of the international advisory councils on ICT and investments. And so there are many other people who met them even prior to me. I met them while I was in the ANC Youth League, before I became a member of government. And how they then got to stick only with me still puzzles me to this day, because besides all the allegations which have been made, one thing has stood out. One, I never did business with them, that I only knew them just like anybody knew them. And, you know, and so I don't understand why they got to stick with me and not with anybody else who came before me. And one of the allegations that was made was that I am the one who naturalized them, when in actual fact they were naturalized before I became minister, long before I even became a member of cabinet.
Or that you went consistently to their homes and somehow they gave you money.
Which is also not true, because nobody has said, here at this stage, I saw you taking the money from them. I actually never took money from them. That's why the people who made these allegations, when they were cross-examined, they admitted that the Zondo Commission that they actually never saw me receiving money or taking it.
Knowing what you know about them now, do you regret?
Knowing what I know now, I regret having met them. Just as I think all of us would, once you know that someone you met and did not think they were what you've been told, that they have been what you've learned that they are. You know, so once you know now that these people were like this, then sure, you would regret.
Malusi Gigaba, Dr. Malusi Gigaba, thank you so much for making time for us.
Pleasure. It's been fun.